this isn't about like the best sound quality. It's about the vibe, isn't it?
It is
Exactly.
It ruins the vibe if you spend too long setting stuff up. I always think, shall I do an intro?
I think you should.
Shall I do an intro?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Well, you never do the intro.
No, because you're better at it.
Here we are again, once again at City Sound for the Are You Creative podcast. I'm here with Sangeeta. Hello, Sangeeta.
Hello, everybody.
And obviously me, so-called creative expert Nick Hearn. I've been doing all right this week. Won another award for PR, which was good. And last week I went on a film shoot with an ex-Blue Peter presenter. We kayaked over the world's highest aqueduct.
Oh my!
That's very cool.
Which was
God.
pretty cool, and it was amazing. The sun came out. It was in
Wow.
Wales. The sun came out. It'd been raining all week. The sun came out, looked beautiful, and it cast these huge long shadows of the aqueduct through the valley.
Oh wow!
And we had the best day, and then like as soon as we stopped filming, rained again.
That was good timing in a way.
Exactly. So that was pretty good. And since we've been here, you've been hanging out with Big Nasty.
Well, no. I've not been hanging out with Big Nasty, no. So basically, he did come to Chelmsford, but he came thanks to Louisa DiMarco from Keep It 100.
Yeah.
They brought a statue in.
And you
So-
weren't allowed to talk to him.
We took pictures with him. We
Yeah.
did talk to him.
There wasn't a restraining order or anything.
No,
was
there
the
was no
event?
restraining order. No, it was just the unveiling of a statue that had some significance, obviously, to people that have lost people.
Yeah, this is like a new knife
True.
crime
It
statue.
is.
It's like
Yeah.
Knife Angel.
Yes.
It's a heart with some knives in it, and I believe they've been collected in a knife bin or something.
They have, yes.
So, both been up to some cool creative stuff, eh? And
Definitely.
we have got another guest here, and we've got Elodie in, who we're not going to do a guessing game because Sangeeta knows who Elodie is. Elodie, you may say hello.
Hello.
Yeah, well, listen to that voice, amazing. But I can't even remember how we do this. It feels we haven't got the desk. I feel like
I feel like there should be a table, like there's a missing
Yeah.
table between
Oh,
us.
that was
Exactly,
my
yeah.
idea.
there needs to be a barrier, doesn't there?
My
Just
idea was to
something
keep it
really
intimate.
grand.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
see,
Yeah.
you see, listeners, what we've got a new setup today, and we've got sofas, and everyone's gone too chilled. I need to be like headmaster vibes, so I can feel like I'm in control.
I personally feel that he's still in headmaster vibes, so I don't think we need a table.
Someone's got to produce. Anyway, so we've got Elodie in with us, and actually, you know, we have to admit, we have had Elodie on as a guest before, but we lost the audio recording. So Elodie's come back because she's a guest that we really, really wanted back. And I've got to ask her a question. Oh, Elodie, first of all, Essex credentials?
Essex credentials.
Yeah, you are from Essex, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Born and raised? Were you born and raised Chelmsford?
I was, yeah.
Oh,
Born
amazing.
and raised, and then up until the age of 9, then I went to boarding school. So yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. So from Essex, back in Essex now, living in Chelmsford. And Elodie, are you creative?
I believe that I am.
Yay! Right, we can continue on with the podcast now, luckily. So why don't you tell us what you do?
So I'm a professional violinist. I work on a freelance basis. I perform with classical musicians, pop musicians, do sessions for composers, singer-songwriters.
Does it feel funny saying, I'm a I can't even say it because I'm not one. Does it feel funny saying, I'm a professional violinist?
It does feel weird. I feel like I should just say I'm a violinist. Like,
Exactly. But if you say I'm a
Yeah.
violinist, it might just feel like, oh, you just do a bit here and there. You are literally full-time violinist.
Yes.
That's
yeah.
what you do. You're making your career. And you probably
I feel
will
very
forever.
lucky to do what I do and to do a job that I enjoy, make money doing something that I've kind of always wanted to do. Because life as a musician is not so easy, and I think like it can also look quite glamorous as well. But there's a lot of hours that go into learning an instrument and then like perfecting, and I don't know.
Let's talk.
What else to
Hey,
say?
look, let's talk about those hours though, because I don't think I was talking to someone this week. I don't think there's any shortcut to learning a musical instrument. The only way to do it is graft and hours, right?
Yeah.
There's no like matrix where you can say, "Teach me violin," and you
It's
learn
not really a
violin.
shortcut.
There's no shortcut. It's
Yeah.
literally what you put in is what you get out, right? So, how many hours a day are you practicing?
Do you know what? This is a question that is It's actually very difficult to answer. So it depends on what my week looks like, and because it's not a typical sort of 9 to 5 job.
What's the longest you practice for in a day? When your neighbours are banging on the wall, say, "Shut up with those scales."
Actually, I would say I actually tend to do. I find that at the moment I tend to do less and more streamlined. So like, for me, I tend not to go above 4 hours.
But you're playing twice as fast.
Huh?
Streamlining. I need to do 4 hours, but I do play twice as fast. Flight of the Bumblebees. Let's fly of the Bumblebees twice as fast.
Because a lot of the time, I find that quite a lot of the time just get taken up with rehearsals.
Yeah.
So, and then traveling, because like traveling to London, depending on where I am, it can be an hour and a half.
Listen, no one wants to hear someone practicing on the train, do they? Can you imagine?
Yeah, I mean, some of my jobs, like sessions, you aren't sent the music in advance, so you go and you play. But say if I had a concerto coming up, and it's like I'm playing with an orchestra, which is like a half an hour. Typically, a concerto lasts about half an hour, and it's quite technical, and there's a lot going on. Like my day will just fill. I'll practice 5 hours, say, in very intense bursts, but it's often hard to actually sustain that amount. But now that I'm like full time with work, because like when I was a student, for example, and I had less, fewer commitments and fewer sort of things going on outside of university, like much more of my time was devoted to those kind of exam, like performances for exams and things. Now it depends on
5 hours though. That's well boring, isn't it? Like, could you do anything for 5 hours, Sangeeta?
Well, it depends. If you enjoy it,
I would struggle to play Mario Kart for 5 hours in a row, or like something like that.
I would never practice in a row though.
So that's not 5 hours.
Yeah, so I would do like hour and a half bursts, because I find that like there comes a point when you are just getting less back, so you can concentrate for only so long. And even sometimes now I find that it really depends on the day as well. Like if I've not slept well, if I've had a bad night and I have to practice in the morning, sometimes I'll just do like a 40-minute burst and just be like, I literally can't, because I'd just be daydreaming. So
I was watching a documentary about Jimi Hendrix, and they were saying that he would literally just have his guitar on all day, and he'd be walking around his house noodling away, making a cup of tea, still noodling with one hand, like just literally. They were saying that he just didn't want to put his guitar down ever, and he was just loving it. Yeah. So do you just feel like compulsion? Oh my god, I got to grab the violin and. I don't know. Actually, I don't think that is. Honestly, that's probably not me. I tend to find that like. If I tell myself like I've got to do a certain number of hours, that day is already like doomed to fail, I find. And actually, I prefer just like, okay, I'm gonna wake up and I spend just like a really solid chunk of time just doing scales. Because I have this with my kid, right? I'm like, you got to do 15 minutes piano practice, and he counts that as 15 minutes of his bum on the piano stool, not like literally playing. And he'll be like, I've done 15 minutes. I was like, no, you didn't. You did like 6 minutes on your phone. On WhatsApp, and it's hard to measure that time and be like deep focused, right? Mm-hmm.
But I also found that like I went through a phase actually where I think I had been practicing very intensely, and then all of a sudden I just had, I don't know if it's like equivalent of writer's block, where it's just I pick up my violin, but then I just felt like I either was in a daze or I was just, I don't know. It's like it was overwhelming and too intense, and I literally pick up my violin, put it down, not do anything. And then I realised from that point onwards that it's like you can tell yourself you've got to do a certain number of hours, but that doesn't actually necessarily mean that you're going to get a lot done. Yeah. And actually, it's sometimes better to be like, okay, I'm going to practice in how do I make this really good quality? So I'm going to tell myself, put a timer on 25 minutes, and in that 25 minutes, I've got this goal. And I found that when I started doing that, like the actual quality of my practice was better. Maybe I wasn't doing such huge stints, but it was better than when I was like, okay, I've got to tick off like 6 hours.
Do you feel like when you're practicing, do you ever feel like, oh, I've just leveled up, or do you feel like it's about maintaining your level?
That's a really
do you think
question.
Like plus 10 violin XP? Yes, I've gone to, because like I just started playing bass a year ago, and I love it. Like every week, I can feel I'm getting better. Yeah. But with drums, because I've been playing drums for 34 years, I never get. I might get a little bit better in a year. Mm-hmm. Right, but bass every week, I'm like leveling up, and I'm like, yes, it's so rewarding.
I feel like I go through phases. I don't feel like I feel the same. Like all the time. I don't always feel like, oh my gosh, I love playing violin. Like sometimes there are times when you just feel like I do feel like, oh wow, I've just done so many things. I would like a break from it. And then if you've got something like coming up, then you'll be like, okay. Sometimes I like just varying my practice. Sometimes I will do like score reading with a recording, and then I'll come to play, and it's like I find that then that sort of engages me and like excites me.
Let's explain what score reading is, because I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure
Oh.
Well, is that you're listening?
Yeah.
Is that like you're reading along, listening to music, and you're looking at the notes?
Yeah, so you'll have like the manuscript, or say on your iPad, you've got the music sheet music in front of you, and you'll find a recording. That's what I find when I get either stuck or I kind of lose enthusiasm, and then you find a really good, really inspiring recording, and then you go, oh, that's
cool. I love what the violinist did there. I love how they interpreted it.
Yeah, you go, oh wow. Actually, I'm really looking forward to learning this now.
Amazing. And can you, from doing that, does that help you sight read as well?
Yeah, it really can help improve. Like, I find that it speeds up the process of learning a lot when you listen. And
it's a bit like reading the subtitles on a foreign language film. Like I love like if I'm going to France or something, and then you read the subtitles, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I do know a little bit of French.
It makes it a faster process.
Yeah. Sangeet, can you play any musical instruments?
Mine was the recorder. 3 blind mice.
Oh, we had
that was it.
I remember because we had this previous guest, Adam, and he said recorder is the only instrument that still sounds bad when you're good at it. No one can make a recorder sound good.
Just the recorder. Never really listened to classical music as such.
Yeah.
You was actually one of my first performances that I've seen, to be honest. Then recently I've got to see your sister. So I want to go back into your journey. What made you want to become a violinist? I mean, I know you're doing this now, but let's go back into what inspired you, what made you want to do this.
Yeah, well, when I was really little, when I was 2, I used to go wherever my sister went. So I would be at all her cello lessons. So she would have been about 9 at the time, her orchestra lessons, and I think that was a really good introduction to me.
Well, your little 2-year-old, like little toddler Elodie's there. Oh, that's so cute.
So cute. So I sort of learnt about music that way. Listen on the radio, it would be on at home. Classic FM would be on a lot. And then
Classic. I love that station. Yeah, take away the adverts, though, please. Adverts are terrible on Classic FM.
There's so many of them.
Such a great radio station, especially at Christmas.
Yeah, that's true actually. But then also, as kind of a bit of a tradition, we'd watch BBC A Musician every couple of years when it came on TV. And when I was 3 and when I was 5, both times it was a violinist that won it, and both times.
Hang on. You make it sound like you're in The Incredibles, because I don't think I can remember anything from when I was like 5. You're like Jack in The Incredibles, watching it, 3 years old. Oh, it's great. There's a violinist winning this year.
No, but I remember watching Jennifer Pike playing Mendelssohn Violin Concerto, and she must have been about 12.
Wow.
And I think she was at that point the youngest winner, and it was just the most incredible thing, like being that young and you're looking at the TV and just being like, wow, and they sound just like seasoned professional. And then I have a more vivid memory of when she came back 2 years later to give her like a winner's performance, and she played It Ain't Necessarily So and a couple of other songs from Porgy and Bess, arranged by Heifetz, and like the first time hearing those pieces, I mean, they're so cool. They're so jazzy, but it's just so cleverly written. And I remember like actually like standing in front of the TV and like getting 2 cassette tapes and sort of pulling them apart and trying to make a little mini violin.
You were playing air violin. You were rocking out air violin in front of the TV.
Pretty much, yeah.
And do you think from that moment that you sort of manifested? You were like, I want to be that person.
Yeah, I remember like going to bed and having a dream and be like, I want to go on that competition and I want to play the final. I want to play with orchestra.
And then you get to 8 or 9. Mm-hmm. How does that then go into your GCSEs or choosing? Yeah, so you said you was in boarding school.
Yeah, so I was insanely lucky actually. So when it's like my 5th or my 6th birthday, Nicola Benedetti was playing a concert, and it was on my birthday, and my mum managed to get tickets.
I have to do a bit of Wikipedia here because
Okay.
Nicola Benedetti is pretty much, I would say, apart from Nigel Kennedy, the equal most famous violinist in Britain.
Yeah.
Currently living, I suppose.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
she is absolute legend.
Yeah.
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 So that's like getting to go to pretty much the best violin concert.
Yeah, I mean, actually, two of the most, I would say, life-changing experiences were, like, my two heroes at that point were Jennifer Pike and Nicola Benedetti, and I'd seen a concert. I think the concert that was on my birthday was actually Jennifer Pike, and my mum sent an email to her dad asking if she would listen to me play after a concert. And
Hang on,
amazingly,
you were 6?
I was about 6, I think.
Oh,
And amazingly,
wow.
like, she was so lovely, and she, like, listened and gave me a little lesson, and I just thought, like, that was
Oh,
like the best
wow.
birthday present for me.
Can you
Like,
imagine all these parents with their precocious little 6-year-old? Can you listen to my child play?
she was
Yeah.
so good. She was so good. Like, so, like,
Do you-
genuinely encouraging, and
Yeah. Do you
and
think you
like-
had a talent then? Would she be able to hear and go like, yeah, Elodie's got something?
I can't remember what I sounded like at that age. I mean, it's so long ago now.
It wasn't like Three Blind Mice.
I don't even know what I played.
Well,
to
no,
her, to be
look,
honest.
you've made it into
Yeah.
a profession,
But
so
then-
it obviously wasn't, right?
But then, sometime later, so this was the thing that was really, like, even when I tell people, like, how this is such a tenuous link. So I think what happened was we were watching TV, Nicola Benedetti was playing, and my mum's friend was there. This is, by the way, this is someone who doesn't listen to classical music a lot.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, I know that girl." My mum was like, "Maybe you've got mixed up with someone." And she said, "No. It was the girlfriend of her daughter's husband's brother." So her
Hang on.
daughter's husband's brother happened to be going out with Nicola at
No
that
way.
particular point in time, and she said, "I'm gonna get Elodie. I'm gonna get her to meet Elodie." So one day, I came back from trampolining, and my mum said, "I think I just had like a trampolining class at Dovedale's," and my mum was like, "Come, quick, onto the phone," and she was having a conversation with Nicola on the phone.
No.
And then
Oh
she,
goodness.
she passed the phone over to me, and I had a little conversation with her.
Wow.
And I was, yeah.
How old were you?
I think I was 6.
Wow.
I think I was about 6
Yeah.
then.
So I'm imagining 6-year-old Elodie here trampolining at Dovedale's, playing violin on a trampoline, like the four seasons, playing the 4 seasons,
sure about
boiling around, going home. Oh, got Nicola Benedetti on the phone. What?
It's no big deal.
No, that was like the first. I think that was like that was the beginning, basically, of like a really nice friendship. And she
Fantastic.
helped me get into music school.
Wow.
She helped sort of prepare me.
So
that-
so she was almost like a mentor to you.
She was very much a mentor.
Hang on,
yeah.
because she was going out with someone's brother's friend's hairdresser's sister. Hang on, who was it?
Okay, my mum's friend's daughter's husband's brother.
But that's amazing. So you had like 5 degrees of Benedetti.
So that was a very fortunate thing.
And that's so kind. How often do you think she would check in, like mentoring, or like, you know, you could ask her
Yeah.
advice?
I mean, she was very busy, obviously.
Yeah, being an
and
international violin star.
And so I actually had some lessons with her sister, who had a little bit more time. But even still, you know, they're both very busy. So it'd be every few months, you know, like every, I don't know, 4 months, say 3 or 4 months, and then that. But that was like I'd like go really prepared, have like a very long lesson, and she would just basically teach me until my concentration
Yeah.
Just
ran out.
stopped.
And
Wow.
I remember
And did-
sometimes she'd be there for like 2 hours giving me lessons.
Wow.
Amazing.
And did you
Like,
think?
yeah.
Did you think? Oh my god, I've got Nicola next week. I'm going to do like so much practice, and
Yeah, it was
you want to
really
impress her.
motivating. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really motivating, and also it was amazing because like at the time I'd come from, so I had a teacher, and I did, you know, I was practicing a lot, and I'd get through the pieces, but I always felt my lessons were quite short.
Yeah.
So because my lessons were half an hour and they couldn't be any longer, and so it was really amazing to have someone who could listen to me for longer, go into more detail. And,
Can you imagine the psychology for your like normal violin teacher? Just thinking like, oh yeah, I'm teaching, and you're like, oh yeah, I've got Nicola Benedetti next week.
you know,
They were
'cause it was a special thing because you know, like obviously I knew she'd be really busy, concerts all over the place, and so it's just really.
And she'd rock up and she'd be like, "Oh yeah, I've just got my £2 million violin here."
Well, she wouldn't say that.
Was she like, "Oh yeah, I'll just get the Stradivarius out and let you know how it sounds on that"?
I remember one time she did let me play. I think when I was a bit older, must have been about 14. I went to one of her concerts and then afterwards she let me play on it.
Really, she's like, "Now you are ready to touch the Stradivarius." This is like someone teaching you to drive in Tesco's car park and then let you drive a Lamborghini.
Oh, she's very good about it, you know. I feel
Really?
like she's very. But I suppose she knew that obviously there are certain people you wouldn't trust your instrument with, and I guess someone who's actually learned, like, you know, someone who wants to play.
You have passed the test.
I'm not going to drop it, I guess, so easily, unless I was like some random person who just didn't really play.
I mean, how does it feel playing on an instrument like that?
I mean, I was a bit scared, really, because I was just like,
Don't want to damage
I
it.
don't want to do it. Yeah,
I
I don't want
bet
any
you were.
damage. I don't want.
It's like, here, hold this Ming vase. You're gonna, like, it must be so scary. But did it
Incredible.
when you
Yeah.
played it? It must have just felt like, oh, this sounds better than I've ever sounded ever.
You know what? I feel like it's definitely, you go on a journey with each instrument, and I feel like I didn't maybe really know how to get the best out of it because I wasn't used to it. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, like people often say that as well with Strads. Like, they've got a very specific sound, and you kind of learn to play it like the longer you spend with it. So it's like, it was incredible, but also I felt like I wasn't quite like ready. Do you know what I mean?
Did you just call it a Strad?
Strad.
Strad. It's so good. It's like violin terms. Yeah, I've got a Strad. I'm just used to like people talking about like Fender Stratocasters.
quite a
and calling them
common abbreviation.
Strats.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, I'm playing a Strat. And you're like, no, I've got a Strad.
So there's different types of violins for someone like myself who doesn't know anything
many,
about that.
I guess like cars, you know.
So
Many
is that what you had to study? Like what type of violin, or for you to know that? So I guess what I'm trying to get to is you're a violinist, you're a professional now.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know what instrument you're going to be?
You have to try a lot. So
okay.
Oh, is
Go
it like
and
Harry
try
Potter where you go to the Ollivander's
selection.
one shop and then like
I guess, yeah, actually, that's probably quite a good comparison. Yeah, I mean, it's a very personal thing. I think choosing a violin, and someone can tell you, you know, I don't know if someone can really tell you what to look for, because I think some people, like, if you might find that you really like mellower instruments, and someone else really likes brilliant, very bright instruments, and also it depends as well, I guess, on what kind of music you're playing as well.
And does that,
you know,
does the
so-
type of wood make a difference then? Is that what makes it brighter or mellower, or the strings or the setup?
Yeah, the thickness of the wood, the age of the wood, those are.
And do
are
you
things
learn
that-
all of that in music school? Or is that something
No,
you've
not really. I
researched
think
yourself?
you sort of, I mean, depending on how interested you are, you do the research on it, really.
And
Because I still feel like I don't know enough about how instruments are crafted, how
So
about
you kinda-
how bows are
So
crafted.
would you
and-
say like you try before you buy? So if you was
Yeah.
going violin shopping, for example, you'd go in there and you'd say, okay, I like the look of that one. Can I have a little try of it?
I think
or-
mostly you'd say, okay, this is my budget, or they would ask you
Right.
what your
Yeah.
budget is, and I'm looking between this and this in my budget. What do you have
Right,
between
okay.
those sort of prices? And then
Okay.
So it's a bit like
Yeah.
once you've gone Strad, you're not going back, right? It's like okay,
I mean, it's very
everything.
difficult. It's very difficult to acquire a Strad. You know? Like, I mean, the violins, the cost of violins. I think people are always shocked at how much they cost. But Strads is like, I mean, it's way more than a house.
Yeah.
Way more. It's not even.
Really?
Well, it's way
I
more.
mean,
It's way more than a
even
house on
people-
long stomps.
Even people with a lot of money, you know, often are loaned from a wealthy
Yeah.
benefactor, because I think that there are people who, you know, own these instruments who don't necessarily play them, but they own them because they love
Oh,
the history and the
wow.
story.
So it's like
You know?
yeah, my dad knows a guy who looks after Spitfires for rich people, and this rich people just come and watch them being flown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's still the same. It's like a
But
rich
yeah.
person will have a Stradivarius and they'll
Yeah.
loan it out, and then they'll watch it being played. And
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
So it's not
Okay.
normally like I don't think it's a very regular thing where a violinist is like, I'm saving up for a Strad. You say, I'm saving up for a copy of a Strad. And so,
Right.
like, for example, the one I was lucky when I left music college, I had this big, scary kind of question of like, what am I going to do? Because the violin I was playing was on loan to me from when I joined the academy, and I loved it, and I knew I had to give it back. And so luckily I found out about this scheme called the Harrison Frank Family Foundation, and in London, and they loan instruments to people who recently graduated, and they had a really nice collection when I went. Actually, it was lucky. So I had an appointment. I was ill, so I came back for a second.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that now that I was ill for that first one, because when I came back the second time, some extra violins had been returned.
Nice.
And the one that I chose wouldn't have been available the first time.
That was the one with the unicorn strings and the phoenix feather inlay.
It had just recently been returned, and it just stood apart from the rest. And I was so
really,
lucky.
and it you're just like, oh, that is the one that just feels right and it plays right.
Yeah.
So you went there and you tried a lot of different instruments.
Yeah, and I deliberately decided not to look inside, because I think a lot of the time, you do that, and it can be easy to be influenced, especially as well, like knowing a lot about. And I thought I just want completely blindly just to go based on what it feels like and what it sounds like. And I did that, and I was surprised. It was quite a modern. It was made in 2017.
Wow.
And a lot of the time, I find that I tend to go towards older instruments. So I was quite. It was a nice surprise. You know?
Do you give your violin a name?
I have done in the past, but this one I haven't.
What previous names do you have for your instruments?
I had one before that I called Ziggy Stardust because the maker was called Zygmuntovich.
Yeah. I love that. So I'm going to get old Ziggy out tonight. That's so wicked. But your current one doesn't have a name.
I don't. Yeah, I don't.
The name's
know.
got to find the violin, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So your professionalism now, let's say now you're a professional violinist. Where have you been? What have you been up to? Talk to us.
Wow. I have been... So I think one of my favourite performances was when I was actually still studying at Academy. I was halfway through my studies, and I got an opportunity to play with the BBC Singers, an arrangement of Vaughan Williams' Lark Ascending for violin and mixed choir, and that is still one of my favourite concerts I've done.
So when it's an arrangement for violin and mixed choir, you're the only string performer and there's a choir?
Yeah, because originally it was written for solo violin and orchestra, so this was solo violin and choir, and it was incredible. It was just
how big was the choir?
That's a good question. I think it was about... It's quite small, maybe 15 or so.
Wow.
Yeah, that's still a lot of people. 15 still a lot. So basically you got 15 people there and you're just like rocking out the front on your violin.
Yeah.
Total like violin solo.
I mean, it's a lot smaller than an orchestra would be. But it was really incredible. Like, their voices are just amazing. I love the BBC Singers. Do you ever have that? Do you ever have that when you're playing? Because I've only been to classical music about twice with a full orchestra. Yeah.
And the sound is just so incredible. Are you ever playing and you're just listening and being like, oh my God, and forget where you are and forget that you're playing?
Yeah, I guess you sort of start to take for granted, I think, with the more you play, when you play with orchestra, and then it's only when I listen back to a recording, like, oh wow, that's actually how we sounded, It's just like, because you're so focused on your part and making sure that everything's okay, and then you don't always take it all in until afterwards, and you're like, oh wow.
Once I was at Air Studios recording music for an advert, and we had a full orchestra there, and they did a performance, and then someone asked me, said, oh, how was that? And I hadn't even been critical, of how it got, because I was just like thinking, oh my God, it sounds unbelievable, to be
amazing. Oh wait, were you up in the which Air Studios? In
yeah.
Wow,
Nice.
I
was actually in the room. I wanted to go in the room with them as well, just to experience it. And, just feeling that richness and the vibration of the music going through me and
I like that
everything.
Yeah.
And watching the timpani guy going and stuff like that. And I was just like, oh my God. And then I forgot I had to give a creative opinion on it.
Oh, really?
And I literally had nothing to say apart from that's how
Sometimes I have that, actually, though. I do have the equivalent thing sometimes where you're just so kind of... Yeah, I find that more when I actually go to sit and listen and watch.
Yeah,
I find that I'm just enjoying it so much. I
was just thinking, this is the most beautiful moment of my life. Like hearing all these instruments played so well, and
I think it's so easy to take for granted, especially as an orchestra musician, when you're just doing it a lot. You learn a program, then you're on to the next one, and you're basically learning your part, and sometimes the parts are quite challenging, so you're not really taking it all in. You're just making sure like you don't want to mess up.
Yeah. Oh my god. Is that? Oh, sorry. So, is that when you're doing something really complicated? Is that you're just so like focused and you're looking at the sheet music and you're like, oh my god, the really difficult bits coming up.
Yeah, I mean sometimes, and especially sometimes it's like to do with rhythm. I mean, I've had a few gigs, and sometimes it's just like you're really hoping that nothing goes wrong, that you forget to enjoy yourself. And then afterwards you go, oh, that was such a cool gig. You look back at the photo and you're like, oh, that was such a cool gig. I wish I'd like enjoyed it more, but I just was so concerned that it was, that I was going to make a mistake or something.
Just holding on. It's like, oh my god.
How now, as a professional, then you're a freelancer. How do you go about getting commissions? What do you do? Send your music out? Do you is there special magazines you have to read for? We're looking for a violinist. Like, how does it work in your world?
It's word of mouth. Really.
Okay.
All of my work, I think, has basically been word of mouth and recommendations.
Wow.
So I feel quite lucky. I think since I started studying, that I started to get to know fixers from
Fixers
for sessions.
Is that a booker? Is that someone who books you in?
Yeah, so it's someone who basically fixes, say, all the strings for a session, maybe for a pop musician, or
so they'll be
a
like,
string quartet for a music video for a pop musician.
So a fixer would say we need a violin, a cello, and this, and then put it together.
And often fixers are musicians, so it might be a violist in a quartet. And I think there were a few things I did that raised my profile. So having done BBC Musician in 2018. And
hang on, look, we haven't even talked about this.
I mean, well, to try and answer your question, because it's actually quite hard when you say like, how do you get the work that you get? And I mean, I used to think it was through auditions. That's the only way. But I think obviously to have like a salaried position in an orchestra, you have to audition. For the work that I do though, which is kind of freelance work, and it's session work, and a lot of that is there's no audition procedure. It's basically people recommending one another. So I feel lucky that there are things that I've done that have basically raised my profile so that people could go online and, find a video.
So that's quite risky, isn't it, really? Like to be freelance in that way. Like, risky, because it's not that you're selling yourself. It's just you're hoping that if people heard you, the recommendations. Now, going back to saying that having a job in an orchestra, for example, would that be something you'd ever consider, do you think, in your future kind of job spec? To have like a permanent space in a...
this is something I've thought about, and it's not really appealed to me, because I think that like the one thing you're guaranteed is you're guaranteed a certain salary each month.
Right.
And that's the sort of thing that I think would probably become more important to me, maybe as an older musician, slightly more of a musician, but never capped with the number of things that you can do outside of that. And I think I like the kind of excitement of
freedom
of working with lots and lots of different artists, lots of different music.
Yeah, so if you joined an orchestra, say that would be like the London Symphony Orchestra or something, then you're like probably on world tour and stuff, and every day's booked out, you're going to be doing stuff on rehearsal. Is that what happens if you're in an orchestra? They go abroad, they have, it's a very, like, the music obviously is amazing, the music they play. Yeah, doing Jurassic Park at Royal Albert Hall tomorrow night, and then I think it's obviously, I just think any job performing music is great. But for me, at the moment, I think a lot of my excitement comes, I actually quite like sometimes not knowing like what's around the corner and not knowing. Like I think this sort of style of like freelance work really suits me. My favourite Elodie story that I remembered was when one of your friends couldn't make a session, and I think they said, "Oh, Elodie could go and do it," and you didn't know what it was, and you turned up, and it was Sir Edward of Sheeran. Was it? Was it Sir Edward of Sheeran? Wasn't it? You turned up and it was actually Ed Sheeran. Is that right?
That is true. That is true, actually.
So you just thought you were just going to go and do like some like little studio session. It turned out it was an Ed Sheeran song.
It was pretty amazing. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was a few things actually. So it was we filmed for a music video. We filmed, I think, on the Jonathan Ross show, and then we did a gig at Hammersmith Apollo. So that was a really nice.
Amazing. And was Ed Sheeran in the studio when you went the first time?
So it wasn't in the studio actually.
Yeah.
It was a live performance.
Really?
Yeah.
And what, you just turned up at Hammersmith Apollo and on the marquee outside it said,
Oh
tonight
no, we
Ed
had
Sheeran.
rehearsals. No, we had rehearsals for it. So
Wow.
I think actually maybe either I told you the story wrong the first time or we misremembered. I did a session and it wasn't Ed Sheeran. It was like a jazz session. I didn't know what it was, but it was the day before someone pulled out and asked if I could, and I did that, and the guy Bob Knight who fixed me for that then got in touch and said, "Oh, would you be free to play for Ed Sheeran?" So then that's how that came
No,
out.
let me check my diary.
But yeah, that
rip.
yeah, that was
do it.
amazing. It was amazing.
And then from this amazing Ed Sheeran thing, you ended up playing at Glastonbury with Dave. Is that right as well? Am I remembering all your stories wrong?
Them. I think you've misremembered the years. So I think I played with Dave. I think 2 years before, maybe.
Yeah, just
think,
listeners,
yeah.
just so you know, this is an artist called Dave. We're not. It's not like his full name is Dave. He's a rapper.
He's not Chaz and Dave.
Yeah, it's not Chaz and Dave.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I feel like
Chaz wasn't available. Can you imagine Elodie and Dave like rabbit, 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 rabbit?
Glastonbury, so it was Reading and Leeds. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
no.
I haven't played at Glastonbury. Maybe one year.
What? So, I mean, how did that feel? Like playing? We're talking like 50,000 people. Like, come on!
Yeah.
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 How did it feel?
It was exciting. It was. I mean, it was quite. It was. I remember it was actually quite cold because it was quite late. It was quite a late set. And it was amazing. Yeah, really thrilling to have like the buzz of the energy and of the audience.
Did they have pyrotechnics?
I'm trying to think now. I don't think so.
I love how Elodie's just like, oh yeah, no big deal. Yeah, I was just on the stage with Dave, but I can't really remember it very well.
But yeah, I played recently on a music video for Jade Thirlwall from Little Mix.
Oh wow!
Which was that was super fun, really nice. Filmed in Hackney, and yeah, it's got an incredible, like, she's dancing all over the place and singing, and she's very impressive.
Nice.
And we have these veils all over us as string quartet.
And you just got to stand still.
Oh,
have you? Or have you got to sit still?
We're playing, but we've got this veil over us, and it's got it's got a very interesting effect.
Can you tell it's you though?
No,
can't?
Probably can't.
Oh,
I don't know. I mean, I watched it back and I was like, I couldn't really tell.
this is funny though. If you're in like loads of music videos, do you get an IMDb page or something?
No.
You don't?
No.
Is there an IMDb for musicians where you can go and see what you've played on?
Not that I know of.
There should be, shouldn't there? I want to find out. That'd be so cool, wouldn't it? Like to see what you've been playing violin on, Ed Sheeran and Little Mix and Rizzle Kicks. Shh, listeners, don't tell anyone about that one's secret. And Dave.
Yeah, no, it's been amazing. I mean, I think this is the thing. I feel like if I wouldn't have this sort of flexibility and freedom to do all these things if I had a orchestral post. And so I feel grateful that I have the chance to do all these things.
Do you know what? It's funny earlier on, like you just dropped something in the conversation very casually. You said you're on the Young Musician of the Year final.
Yeah, so...
It's just like, oh yeah, after the Young Musician of the Year. Like it was just nothing. Tell us
no,
about that. What was it?
I didn't. You interrupted me, I think. I was going to go into it. So, 2018. It was 2018 when I did it. And I remember that at a time because I think I'd had actually quite a challenging year that year. Just a lot of stuff going on, and that was kind of a real highlight for me of the year. Actually, funnily enough, the string final happened to be on my birthday.
Oh wow!
And
yes,
I think I
nice.
was the oldest one in that category. I just turned 19, I think, on the day. So it was like it was kind of I mean, some people see that process as quite a stressful process, because you're on TV and stuff. And I actually took it as like the most amazing birthday present when I found out that I was going to be on the string final, and just enjoyed, every second of it.
When you turned 19, did they suddenly like, no, you're no longer a young musician?
I mean, I was lucky that I just got in there in time.
What's the cutoff?
I mean, I think I was pretty much at the cutoff.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. Yeah.
Can you imagine that a hook just comes on stage and pulls you off stage because like, oh no, sorry, you're 1 second too old now.
Yeah, no, I loved that year, and I mean, so many great things have come from it. Like the the concert I mentioned about with the BBC singers.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that wouldn't have come about if I hadn't done that competition.
And when you did that competition, it's live. Is it live on TV or it's recorded for TV?
It's on radio and on TV. Yeah.
And was Nicola Benedetti there rocking out in the crowd, listening?
I don't think so. I'm
Just
sure. I
rocking
don't know.
out, she's there with like,
I don't think so. Maybe in your imagination, though.
Do you ever tell her when you're performing somewhere? Do you ever invite her to come and see you? Or...
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, she is so busy now. Like, she has her own foundation, a musical charity, educational charity, and she's got a baby now, and she is definitely not slowing down. She's got a lot of stuff that she's constantly doing, and but we do keep in touch.
So, like if there's any little precocious 3-year-olds at the moment that they're out there watching TV, watching the Young Musician finals, what tips have you got for people to get into, learning an instrument like violin or any instrument they wanted to learn? But obviously, your experiences with violin.
Tips. My tip actually would be more to the parents, actually.
Yeah.
And my tip to the parents would be take your kids to see as many high quality performances as possible,
including heavy metal. Including heavy metal gigs, right?
High quality music.
I love
it. Could be anything. I just think it can be anything as long as it's. I think especially if you've got really little kids, find the very best of whatever that music is. Yeah. Because I think that people have the ability to be inspired when they see something that is like mind blowing and see something that is just so sometimes effortlessly done that sounds incredible. And I think especially at that age,
so it's like exposure to culture, really.
Expose your kids to as much as you can.
That's brilliant. So even if like Sangeeta did the Choose Your Chill festival, take them down to see the Bob Marley experience or anything, so they can see musicians playing, feel what it feels like, and get their bop on as well. And see what they gravitate towards. Oh, that's so cool.
That's amazing.
I feel like children, because I do gigs for kids, is like they're a bit unmolded. They don't have any music taste, but they just know what they like and they can feel it. It's so pure. If they're enjoying themselves, they'll just start like moving to the music or being fascinated by the guy playing the drums or like fixated on one little bit of it.
Yeah, I think that when you're little, I mean, I think everything in life is kind of more exciting because it's being experienced for the first time.
Yeah.
So,
I remember I remember being really young. Actually, you've just unlocked a memory for me. I remember getting a Quality Street tin that the Sweets gave me at Christmas, and I think I started playing it on him with pencils, like drumming, because I'd seen like a drummer on TV.
Wow.
And you just unlock this memory of being little doing that, and obviously later on I got a drum kit and I've become a drummer.
Yeah,
but I really think that that is a really like low barrier to entry, starting to play drums. If I'd been wanting to play violin, how could I have done that? I mean, you said you got some tapes and you started pretending it was a violin.
Yeah. I think that was the sign when my mum actually asked me first, so do you want to have cello lessons? Because my sister had a very good cello teacher and she thought, she can pass the cello down onto me. And I said, no, Mum, it's violin lessons I want. Made her life more difficult.
Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing. So what's next for you now? Where are you off to next week? Or
the next thing I'm doing next week is I'm playing in a new musical, and it's, what's it called? Little Piece of You, an atypical musical.
Really? And what was it about?
Gosh, I was really
You'll have to
hoping
buy
you
a
weren't going to ask me that question.
You'll have to buy a ticket.
Have you been doing a lot of rehearsals for it?
We haven't started yet.
What?
We start next week.
Oh, sorry. Did you say you're starting rehearsals?
We start rehearsals next week.
Okay. And how big's the orchestra? The pit for that? How many musicians have you got?
It's actually really small. It's about 10, 12 musicians. Yeah, 12 I think in total.
Do you know? I went to the pantomime. And I was loving watching the orchestra pit. There was only like 5 musicians there, but they were also swapping different instruments and doing sound effects as well as the songs. And it was I can't remember the performance because I was so busy watching the musicians like swapping from bass to violin.
It's impressive. String players.
Oh yeah, like literally like swapping in.
Oh wow! I was about to say I'm like always impressed with like the woodwind players when they've got like 3 instruments, but I never usually see it like with strings so much.
Yeah,
Maybe violin, viola, but
yeah, be a percussionist would then go on the keyboard and
Yeah.
like mad stuff. It's just fun. And then obviously someone got the coconuts out, was doing horse noises and stuff. But
cool. Yeah.
this pantomime's awesome. Sorry, but I know you're doing something a bit
Where
more
was
culture. Hackney Empire, the best pantomime.
Oh, cool.
It's where I asked my wife to marry me.
Oh, really?
Ooh.
Yeah, Widow Twanky asked my wife to marry me, which from the stage was very nice.
Wow.
That's another story. We'll talk about that another day. I love Hackney Empire. But yeah, it's so good again, just seeing that live music and being able to see people performing it live in front of you. I went to see My Neighbour Totoro at Barbican.
Oh, I missed that. Yeah.
And the musicians were just something else. And you didn't realise it was live musicians for probably about 40 minutes because they were in the dark. And they're all in the trees on the stage, and then the lights sort of came on. You suddenly realised it was actually people singing live,
amazing.
performing live.
That sounds amazing.
And it was so lush again. One of those moments where just like the music's just washing over you, and it's just felt like magical. My kids were absolutely entranced as well.
Oh, wow. Your kids must have loved it. The pictures looked incredible. I hadn't seen it, though.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I feel like it was very expensive tickets. We were, we were in there, and I feel like it's quite hard sometimes for like people with less money to access
That's true.
culture like that.
Yeah.
That was like our big Christmas thing.
Yeah.
But what's a good way for people, perhaps if they haven't got so much money, to experience strings or classical music?
This is actually the thing I was going to say, is that I think that live music is so much better than recorded, even because it's so hard to sometimes feel the same feelings, through a record. Like I think the power of live music is incredible, and actually, I think that tickets are too much. But I don't know. I think in London there are quite a lot of. Well, there could be more. There are concerts that have discounted tickets, and especially like I think a lot of people forget actually, like Wigmore Hall, for example. I went to see a concert and I paid £5, and it's like if you're 25 or under, there are a certain number of free tickets, and I think it's a shame that people don't always know about these things, but they do exist. I think if you look,
is there somewhere where people can go and look and find out where the tickets are, or where they can get the cheap tickets?
Yeah, I think I actually found that out just from looking on the Wigmore Hall website. But then Barbican also have a scheme for 14 to 25-year-olds that you can watch things in the cinema, you can watch things in the theatre or in the concert hall for £5.
Oh,
nice.
As well.
Nice.
So Barbican have got a really good scheme going.
Me and Sangeeta are going to have to make some fake IDs now and get down there.
You know that. Well, I'll pass. I'll be all right. It's just you.
It's amazing, and I think you can sign up and they send you a sort of an email every now and then, with like latest films, latest concerts, and
I think those kind of things are really important because I work with a lot of people that inspire to access these kind of things, and sometimes it is monetary that stops them. And like you said, if you can give anybody any sort of advice, it'd be to the parents. Try and take them to a good quality performance so that they do get inspired. But as Nick said, sometimes if they're a little bit too expensive, how can they be reaching out? So
I would say either go and see Elodie perform, or go and see Miss Satin Beige, or most importantly, take them to see Slay Dougie and let them have their first experience of live heavy metal music.
I love this.
Which is the music of young people, toddlers. It's the best thing for them, for jumping around and everything. Elodie, have you got any performance? Hang on, I'm going to make it more natural. I love it. See, I was going to try to do a cool segue, but I just made myself laugh. So what have you got coming up soon? Have you got any gigs?
So I'm putting on a gig in Chelmsford coming up very soon on Friday the 15th of November at the Hot Box, which is in the Arches. I'm putting on an amazing one. I don't know if it's going to be amazing. Actually, can I start again? That was really bad.
No, I'm leaving that in.
No, you're not.
This is part of...
Let me start again. That was really bad.
This is part of being a musician. You have to do your own promo. You have to big up your own shows. So I believe Elodie's going to be doing a show at Hotbox on Viaduct Road on Friday the 15th of November. But what's amazing is Elodie, her sister Miss Satin Beige, is playing as well. And who else is there?
And my friend Cornelius Rayner, who is a singer-songwriter.
What?
A singer-songwriter.
Amazing. And how much tickets?
So tickets, if you go on Dice, they're £9 in advance,
Yeah.
and if you buy them on the door, they're £12.
Okay, that is awesome, and that is the 15th of November 2024. Just in case you listen to this in the future and you get excited, because I think if you listen to it next year, Elodie will be much more famous. She'll be playing at Royal Albert
You'd
Hall.
be very gutted that you missed her.
Elodie missed out in beige. Royal Albert Hall, 10 nights in a row,
Sold out.
sold out again. Yeah, for another, adding another 5 dates.
It's going to be a really cool blend of a variety of styles. So there's going to be some folky pop. So my friend Cornelius, we're going to put strings on one of his songs. So
You
there's
and
gonna
Satin Beige are
yeah,
going to be
violin, cello, guitar, and voice.
Lucky Cornelius.
Me and Cornelius are going to do a beautiful duet by Paganini for
Yeah.
violin and guitar. Then I'm going to do some solo violin, classical music, and then do some jazzy stuff with Satin, violin and cello. We're going to do an arrangement of a Nirvana song,
Yeah.
an arrangement of a Beatles song,
Oh, God.
and
I'm
then
All right,
yeah.
I'm there.
We're there.
All right, I've
So
got
the 15th.
yeah, the 15th. Me and Sangeeta are going to be there, front row, VIP, roped off area, champagne.
I'll get older Dave, make sure that there's a little spot for us.
All right, Sangeeta,
Oh, yes.
Elodie's. How amazing was Elodie?
Amazing.
Better this time than the first time.
She's always been good, you know. I've only
Exactly.
met
Oh,
Elodie a
cheers.
few times and I can't distinguish between that or that. Every time I speak to you, I just want to speak to you more. So
Aw.
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
No, I find it really inspiring. I get, getting excited about music, talk about music, and it just makes me want to go and do something as well. Start collaborating with different people,
sweet.
start recording some music, make stuff. Go and do gigs. Especially hearing about your gig, how you're all swapping around and helping each other in their shows. Oh, I love it so much.
Oh, thanks so much for having me on.
That's all right. So thank you very much for listening to Are You Creative Podcast. As always, follow us on Instagram, r.u.creative.podcast. And please send us questions. No one's ever sent us a question. Even if you want to know what Sangeeta's favourite chocolate bar is or something like that,
Yeah, please do.
just send us a question. We got the Ragga Enforcer on the desk. Pick up yourselves, everyone, I'm back.
Yay!
Yay! And it's not the right vibe of the Ragga Enforcer, isn't it? So I'm glad he's back.
No,
We've got a full
thanks,
family. Yeah, Jaden back in the house. Thanks to NGDA. Thank you to City Sound for letting us use the studio, and Paul for helping us set up with our beautiful new sofas today. Going to take a photo and put it on Instagram. And I think that's about it, isn't it? Oh, thank you to Essex County Council for the equipment as always and the support. Very nice. All right, so we're going to go. Me and Sangeeta are both wearing leopard as well today. I love it. Sorry, I'm just rambling now. So, Sangeeta, thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming to here. I mean,
Thank you very much.
just
Thank you very much for allowing me to co-host.
yeah. Thank you very much, co-host. Thank you very much to Nick Hearn. Oh yeah, no problem. Always here. And thank you very much,
Thank you,
Elodie.
Nick.
Thanks for having me.
You're gonna say bye. Can you do some air violin for us?
Oh yeah, I should have brought my violin.
Yeah, exactly. Can you do some beatbox violin? Bye.